Well, researchers at Portland State University are looking into the energy needs of Oregonians, particularly when it comes to race and income inequality. A recent survey of 2,100 low-income and households of color in Oregon looked at their energy needs and found that many are living in less than ideal conditions.
And as the weather begins to cool down, this can vary from uncomfortable to dangerous. Dr. Hal Nelson is an associate professor of public affairs and policy at PSU. He conducted this survey along with PhD student Carlos Arias. Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Morning. Thanks for being here.
Why did you decide to do this study?
Well, we've known for a long time that households of color have the highest, they pay more for utility bills than as a share of their income than anyone else. And so we also know that they tend to live in, rental units. And so we were really interested in what we can do to make their lives better. And so part of that is reaching out and asking them how to make their lives better, rather than relying on experts to tell them how to make their lives better. So that was a big part of it.
Mm-hmm. It seems like it's almost a bit of a double whammy there. Not only are a larger percentage of their income going to these bills, but in many cases, if you're living in a less energy efficient environment, then you're going to end up spending more on some of those costs. What were some of the surprising takeaways of this survey?
Well, we found that maybe this isn't too surprising, but for us it was that a lot of these households live in really suboptimal conditions where there's black mold, there's a lot of air leakage, plumbing problems. So energy isn't really high on their list of priorities. We also found it was really hard for them to talk to their landlords because they're afraid their rent's going to go up. So we really want to reach out to them directly and ask them, hey, what is it that you need? And part of that came back was they live in, they have inefficient window AC if they have AC, and inefficient electric resistance heat. So those are some of the big opportunities.
Climate change, climate justice was also part of this study. So why did you look at that, and how does that relate to the overall findings?
Well, climate justice kind of in general terms is the idea that as the climate changes, some people will get impacted more acutely than others, and they tend to be low income or marginalized communities. So when we were looking at this and coming away with takeaways for the energy programs, we're thinking, well, how can they provide increased access to, say, AC, or ways to reduce smoke infiltration would be really, really important. But as Dr. Nelson had just stated, things like black mold are also really critical too. So how do these programs address both these things that are that we see are going to get worse due to climate change, such as heat, but also address those immediate needs that they have, like black mold, and do so in a way that's financially feasible and accessible to them?
So what are some of the recommendations that are coming out of this survey and this research? We've seen over the last couple of years, the city of Portland, for example, working to try and get air conditioning units out to families that need them. Do you have some different ideas for how we could work to solve these problems?
Yeah, you're right. There's a lot of really good work going on. The state just passed a bill to get 500,000 heat pumps into Oregon homes. We think that there's going to be a lot of additional work that's going to be needed, especially reaching out to people about what they might want, in addition to that, and not relying on experts like us. So, it's really a matter of talking to folks, doing surveys like this, and engaging with communities directly.
Did you get any feedback from the utilities themselves? Like PGE, Pacific Power, any of those that actually provide energy services?
Yeah, Energy Trust of Oregon was really helpful in helping disseminate the survey. And, we haven't had a chance to disseminate the results to the stakeholders, but everyone, I think, is definitely interested in what we have to say.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Well, Carlos is a PhD student, getting to do this research, in your community. What is that like in terms of learning and seeing the real world application here?
Oh, it's great. I think a lot of times our communities don't necessarily get brought into the fold. And so having an opportunity to kind of reach out to them directly and kind of understand what they're experiencing and what they need, I think is just a really great first step in how these energy programs can come to light later.
Yeah, very, very interesting study. Thank you both for coming in. Dr. Hal Nelson, Associate Professor of Public Affairs and Policy, and Carlos Arias, PhD student in Public Affairs and Policy. We appreciate you being here today. And to learn more about PSU's Public Administration Department, go to the link on our website, KOIN.com.
Well, KOIN 6 and 4